Welcome to Speaking in Spoons with your host, Christina Brookman.
Hi, I'm Christina Brookman, your host with Speaking in Spoons, a chronically ill podcast, and this is a Spoonie Sunday. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Natalia Grace documentary that's now out on HBO. I honestly haven't been able to watch all of it, mostly because I haven't. It's very upsetting. So I'm talking about this without all the information, and I guess you never really have all the information until you're there. And this is about a case that is still in process. But for those of you listening or watching that are unfamiliar, Natalia Grace was a Ukrainian orphan who was adopted by the Bartletts, who already had 3 children of their own, but they wanted to take in another child. And immediately they reported problems with her. They felt that she was not a child, that she was in fact a woman, because they saw pubic hairs, and they reported a lot of behavioral issues. They took her to psychologists. What's upsetting to me, I guess, and again, I don't have all the information yet, but again, what happened with this case is they moved to have her aged up. And I guess if you're not born within the United States and then you immigrate in, and there is your age is contested, they can take you to court and re-age you and up your age. And the way it was done was through notes from her primary care physician, saying that he didn't feel that she was a child at the time. But he didn't give her like a specific age. It didn't go into specific like scientific data or anything like that, from my knowledge, from the way it was described. And in fact, her specialists, because she has a rare form of dwarfism, her specialist still maintains that at the time she was a child. And the judge aged her up, I guess, to the age of 22, which meant her parents were no longer responsible. And that age didn't really seem to come out of anywhere scientific. Again, it was, based on what the judge, he added a couple years for this or that. And but it seems ironic that she was aged up to the age where the Bartletts would no longer be financially responsible for her. They report a lot of violence on her behalf, and a lot of, they feared for her, but they didn't take steps to report any of that, and have it like documented. It doesn't seem like through. So essentially, when she gets aged out to 22, they get her housing outside, and they'll occasionally stop by with groceries. She gets food stamps, things like that. But she is moved to a 2nd floor apartment. And again, she has dwarfism. She's not given any devices to make this 2nd floor apartment, or even the 1st floor apartment that she originally had, accessible. And a lot of people don't think about that. When I'm in my chair or things like that, and I have difficulty reaching things, and she would be even shorter than that, and she's got joint issues because of the type of dwarfism that she has. and going up steps, things like that, trying to do all of these things for herself, that not only does she not have accommodations for and mobility devices, anything, orthotics, anything like that, or aids that could help her and even train her on how to do these kind of things. She's been raised in, as a child, through these orphanages. Her mother is maintaining she is a child. Her specialist for dwarfism still maintains that at that time she was left by herself, as a child, like, at the age of 16, I believe, or even like it started at 12, like, but she was left at the age alone of 16, in these apartments, second floor apartment with nothing accessible. So eventually she met, a nice woman and her family on the street and moved in with them. And they raised her as part of their family. And the Bartletts freaked out because, they're having her checks transferred to them and things like that, which you can do if you are helping somebody, which it seems like they were doing. And Natalia is maintaining they were, because they would grocery shop with her and for her. And she looks happy in the photos. And to me, what I find reprehensible is take away the fact that she very well could have been a child when they did this. Even if you take that away, let's say she was a woman at this time, she still had a disability. And they just threw her out there to the wolves with like barely anything to live off of, and no assistance, and in a place that was not accessible. That's just incomprehensible to me. And I just find it very fishy that they fought for her to be aged up to like 22. That just seems a little convenient. But I was listening to the interview of of the family's lawyer. They're now divorced, so the wife's lawyer, who the husband is now maintaining was abusive to him, his kids, and Natalia, and forced his kids to abuse Natalia. And they have videos of her forcing this child to stand up against the wall for hours, and then wonders why she soils herself. And that's extremely painful for anybody. But when you have these joint issues because of the dwarfism, that's even worse. And in this interview, her lawyer, Natalia's, specialist, refers to her as a child, and the Miss Bartlett's lawyer keeps telling him now she was not a child, she was an adult. And he's like, basically saying, you want me to lie? And he's like, well, it's not a lie. By the court, she was designated to be the age of 22 at this time. And he's like, so I'm supposed to ignore biology and science, and I just, that's crazy to me. Like, I don't understand how this could happen. It's frightening. It's also very scary to see how this can be manipulated in a court system. And this girl was essentially lost, and they were able to use the system to their advantage to just abuse a child. And child aside, abuse somebody with a disability. And a disability that truly needs accommodations, living accommodations, and things like that. It's not that people with dwarfism cannot have wonderful, happy lives, but she can't live in a second floor apartment with things that have not been, the shelves haven't been moved. That's like, it's just, it's abuse. And it's cruel. And it was just, I've never been so emotional and upset watching something, hearing things, these things and things this woman made her son do, to Natalia as punishment, that have just, he's high functioning autism on the spectrum, and he has just, in his own words, he's just really, declined in his own condition, and is very isolated, which is a shame, because I mean, he had been in articles, he was a math, like, he was getting all these invitations, he's just extremely talented and gifted in mathematics, but social anxiety and things like this, and the trauma of this whole experience is just, I just don't understand how communities, how things like this happen, and I listened to the interviews of neighbors who are just like, oh, we heard the stories of that girl who must have been like demonic and psychotic and all this stuff. We just told our kids not to play with her. We just didn't want to get involved. And that's, people always say they just don't want to get involved, right? And it's like, how do people get murdered in the middle of a crowd? People just don't want to get involved, right? But we have to get involved. If we don't get involved, we're at fault too, because we know what's going on, or that something's not right. So, get involved, people. Help your community. Don't let things like this happen. Because if you just look away, you are letting it happen. And this girl, and those boys just had their whole childhoods, so much trauma. I can't even imagine. So that's my happy, uplifting Spoonie Sunday for this week. But it's I think an important documentary that is out there on HBO, if you can have access to it. It's something that's really important that I would watch. There's going to be a second part where she gets to tell her story. So yeah, if you can, check it out and try to save your spoons. Have a great week.
If you want to contact us, please send a DM or email to speakinginspoons@gmail.com with any stories you have or would like to interview with us on any of our upcoming topics. And check out our website for all of our upcoming episodes and what's happening in the Speaking Spoons community at www.speakinginspoons.com. Thank you for listening to Speaking in Spoons, and have a great day.